In this tutorial we'll just take an overview of the Mistika interface. We'll just take a look around so we can see the full extent of the interface and how it's laid out. Mistika is generally used across three monitors, being a left GUI, a right GUI, and then a full resolution output, whether that goes to a broadcast monitor or a projector. With Mistika, the output monitor never has any GUI information on it. It's always a clean output. You can actually run Mistika on less monitors. You can have both GUI elements on one monitor if you like. In fact, you can run the whole Mistika just on a single monitor, but the normal layout is across three. So looking at the GUI between the monitors, on the left-hand monitor, the first thing we see is a large timeline area, which works like a traditional timeline with time going left to right and layers and processes going up and down. We'll look at that, of course, later. And then around the perimeter, various controls for the time area. Down in the lower third here on the left monitor, we have our various options and controls, and they're controlled by these tabs. So our project information, importing, conforming, editing, effects, and so on. So whatever functions we want, we'll find them down here. On the right-hand GUI, by default, is normally just our media browser, where we can organize our media and load our media and so on. If we were to add an effect, for example a color grader, and double click, the right monitor then gives us all the parameters to control that effect. So for example, this is a color grader, so we have a color grading interface down here along with our output. So the right hand monitor is generally used for arranging and controlling your effects. And also we have various options for putting up scopes and all sorts of measurement stuff. Again, we'll look at all these in detail. So we can see on this part of the interface we have an area where we can build our effects and an area where we can control our effects, either by interface or by graphs. The vast majority of processes within Mistika run between those two interfaces, between the left and right monitor. There are one or two things that have their own specific interface. For example, if I were to pull up a painting interface, obviously we need somewhere to paint, so it has its own interface, which comes up on the right-hand monitor. So between all those areas, that's the full extent of the Mistika interface. So everything that you're going to do with Mistika, from importing, converting, conforming, and editing, and compositing, and color grading, all gets done within those areas. So it's a pretty straightforward system to get your head around. The interface is pretty well organized.